Good morning. Welcome to Medical University of South Carolina Medical Center New Employee Orientation. I'm Dr. Pat Cawley. I'm the hospital CEO. I've been in this role since April of 2013, but I've been here in the medical center since 2003. I'd like to take a moment to welcome you and apologize for not being here today. I normally do new employee orientation every other week in person, but today I'm traveling and I can't be here. However, I'm going to give you via video the same exact presentation that I give to all new employees. So as we start this orientation, I want you to focus on this slide for a second and look at the question in yellow. And that question reads, are you ready to be a team member on a high-performance team? That's quite a question to be asking you on your first day here at MUSC. But I want to focus on two different pieces there. Let's focus on the high-performance piece to start with. How do I know we're a high-performance team? Well, if you look at the slide, you could see numerous awards that we've received here at MUSC over the last several years. And I've only given you a small piece of the awards that we've received. All these awards say that MUSC is doing great things. But I like to point out that awards are not everything. If you have children, awards are kind of like when they get great grades. And you're proud of them for it, but you really still wonder what led to that great grade. Do they still remember everything? So it's great to get good grades, but it's even better when you know there's something more meaningful underneath those great grades. So let's talk about what is a team. So a team is any group of people linked in a common purpose. Here's two examples right underneath on the slide. The one on the left is the NASCAR pit crew. If you know anything about NASCAR pit crews, you know that this group works together to try to shave off hundreds of seconds in order to have a better time for their driver. If you look at the picture on the right, that's a little more Charleston-friendly picture. It's a picture of a sailboat, but it really works for any kind of boat. I like sailboat because of the Charleston Harbor and the link to all the sailing activities here. But anyone knows to sail and sail safely, a team has to work together in order to deliver everyone safely to the new destination. Now, when you put all that together, all right, how do I know when we have a high-performance team occurring here at MUSC? Like I said before, it's great when we receive the grades, but when I really know we have a high-performance team is when this happens. And on the slide, you can see that it says that we've created a great place, number one, for patients to receive care. Number two, employees feel valued. And the third one is that our physicians and other clinicians want to practice and teach medicine. Just a few weeks ago, a young woman sent me a letter about her care here at MUSC. She had lived here in Charleston her entire life, and she never imagined herself coming to MUSC for a relatively minor problem. But she came here, she was treated, and she was treated well. And in her letter to me, she told me she was very thankful that she had come here, and she was glad that she came here. Not only for the hard stuff and the high-end stuff and the high technology, but even for the most basic minor care. This is the agenda I'm going to cover over the next 15 minutes. If you've worked here at MUSC before, you may know the history, but many of you have not worked here before, so I'm just going to briefly tell you about the history. I'll cover our leaders and our organizational structure. The third thing I'll cover is just give you a little statistics to tell you about how big MUSC is. I'm going to talk about MUSC Health. If you've been watching the news or the newspaper, we talk about MUSC Health a lot in our ads, in our advertising. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about our strategic plan and where we're going. Because if you know where we're going, then it'll be easier for you to help deliver the great care every day. Then I'm going to talk about a very important topic, which is called MUSC Excellence. I'm just going to introduce that today as an initial topic, but you'll hear much more of it throughout the rest of the day. Then I'm going to talk about your behavior and your goals, and then finally I'm going to finish up with a piece on communication and transparency, two things I've been working hard on in the last year. Let's just talk a little bit about MUSC. MUSC has been around a long time. We are the oldest medical school in the South. We were originally founded in 1824. We were transferred to the state. We were a private institution before being transferred to the state in 1913. We have 6 different schools now. and we've been an official university since 1969. We are governed by a 17-member board of trustees that come from every single part of South Carolina, and we're big. We are a major employer. We have approximately 12,000 employees and $2.1 billion in an annual operating budget. That makes us the biggest employer in the Charleston area. And just to give you a sense, we also have the biggest group practice of physicians in South Carolina. We have over 780 physicians and almost 700 residents and fellows. On the screen in front of you, you see our leaders. Dr. David Cole is the president of the university, and I oversee the hospital and medical center. But I also have a deep connection to the university as the vice president for clinical operations. Now, when you think about MUSC, you're new here, so you're probably thinking that we're just all one big organization, but we really are actually three smaller organizations under one umbrella organization. The university, the medical center, and MUSC Physicians, which is our group practice of physicians, constitute the three different parts of MUSC. Let's talk about MUSC Health. MUSC Health is a subunit of Medical University of South Carolina that constitutes just the clinical enterprise, the part of the organization that sees patients. And there are three parts to MUSC Health. First, there's the medical center, which I oversee. We also have the group practice, which is called MUSC Physicians, which is overseen by Mr. Steve Valerio. And the third part is the College of Medicine, which is overseen by Dr. Ed Pisano. Together, the three of us work with you to deliver the great care that MUSC expects every day. Let's talk a little bit about the statistics of MUSC. The first thing I want you to understand, first and foremost, is that top number. And that's where you see almost half of our patients are seen or come from outside the Tri-County area. The Tri-County being Charleston, Dorchester, and Berkeley County. If you worked in any other hospital in Charleston, only a small percentage of your patients came from outside the Tri-County area. Why is this important? Because you need to know that all of our patients don't have access to their family, or their family can't come immediately because they may be coming from 4 hours away or 2 hours away. So you need to understand that about half of our patients come from outside the Tri-County area. We see about 600 patients in the hospital at any one day. We admit about 35,000. We do about 25,000 surgical cases, and we see about 75,000 in our emergency room. And we see almost 1 million in our outpatient clinics every year. So you put all that together, we're a moderate to big size academic medical center. These are just a few statistics on our doctors and the number of clinical departments. And then just so you understand the buildings that constitute MUSC Health, the medical center where you're sitting today, you're sitting in just one piece of the medical center, which is called University Hospital. But we have other pieces called Ashley River Tower, the Children's Hospital, the Institute of Psychiatry is across the street, the Stormont Institute is just down the street a little bit, and the Hollings Cancer Institute is about a half a block from where you're sitting today. And then the buildings that constitute MUSC Physicians, we break them into what we call specialty care and primary care. And you've seen these buildings throughout all of the Charleston area, as well as many other parts of the state. Let's switch and talk a little bit about where MUSC is going. Let me just paint a little bit of picture of our strategic plan. So the strategic plan, which is all about where MUSC is going and how we're going to get there, was jointly developed by the MUSC Health leaders, which I showed you before. It's the College of Medicine, plus the MUSC Physicians, plus the Medical Center. And for the first time, a little more than 2 years ago, those three parts of the organization got together and developed this strategic plan. I won't go into detail about how we put together a strategic plan, but this is our basic framework. What I want to point out first and foremost is our mission. The mission of MUSC, which is the never-changing purpose of MUSC. It's why we exist. And the mission is this. It is that we improve health and maximize quality of life through education, research, and patient care. Now, many of you today are going to be working in the clinical enterprise. And so you're looking at that patient care piece and saying, absolutely, yes, that's why I'm here. And you may not be so sure about the education or the research part. But the reality is that we are not MUSC without the research or the education part. So although you're probably going to spend 99% of your time either doing patient care or supporting patient care, there may be times that you need to help out on the research side or the education side in the work that you do every day. And we ask you to do that because it's really through those three things that MUSC delivers the great care that we do deliver. Now, let's talk briefly about our values. So the 4 values that I like to point out that are very important in the medical center are what we call accountability, respect, excellence, and adaptability. You see them on the slide. This is what we stand for here at MUSC. I'm going to come back to those in a couple minutes. What is a vision? A vision is where we want to go. Where do we want to be? And our vision here at MUSC is that we want to be nationally recognized as a premier academic medical center. There's a long paragraph underneath that which further explains it. And in the beginning, you see the part about changing what's possible. If you've seen any of the advertisements or any of the marketing materials that we've put out, this is where we get that tagline from, is that we want to change what's possible. And that's all part of being a nationally recognized premier academic medical center. We have a way we're going to measure that, and we measure that through what we call Mission 2015. And by that, we mean that we will be top amongst all academic medical centers by 2015. We will measure that in 2 different ways. Many of you are probably familiar with the U.S. News & World Report, but there's another way to measure academic medical center, and that's through something called the University Health Consortium Quality and Accountability Study. These are the many different pieces of how those 2 ranking systems measure us. I would like to point out, you see on the right-hand side, there's a bolded area which points out nurse magnet. For all the nurses in the room, we are on the magnet journey, and we do expect, if everything goes well, that we will have nursing magnet status by the fall of 2014. Now, let's talk about MUSC excellence. If any of you grew up here in Charleston, ask yourself about MUSC and whether MUSC was always the friendliest place to get your care. Many of you are probably saying to yourself, probably not. But if you've received care here in the medical center in the last 6 to 7 years, you're seeing much, much, much different environment. And that's all because of this concept called MUSC excellence, right? And it's something very, very real. It's actually the way we do business. It's an organizational culture that we've developed over the last 6 to 7 years. And at its simplest, it's how we align our behaviors and operational practices with our values and goals. And when we do that, we create this great place for patients to receive care, employees to work, and physicians and other clinicians to practice and teach. Remember I started that in the beginning? This is what MUSC excellence delivers. Now, let's talk about how we do that. The values I've shown you before. I showed you accountability, respect, excellence, and adaptability. So the way this works is we take those values and we develop a framework of behavioral standards. And from that framework of behavioral standards, we develop your performance evaluation. So it works like this. We take a value, we develop a behavioral standard, and then we develop your performance evaluation. Let me give you a deeper example. So one of the values is respect. We develop a behavioral standard which calls for treating coworkers with respect. And then we look at your performance evaluation. Do you always do this? Notice the question. Always do this. It's not rank you on a scale of 1 to 10. It's do you always do this? Right? That begs a yes or no question. Right? If yes, then great. You can continue to work here and do great things at MUSC. If no, we need to talk about what you need to do different in order to get to always. Now let's talk about goals. Goals are also important. So we start with organizational goals at a high level. From those organizational goals, every single leader in the medical center gets a set of goals, followed by your goals. Every single employee across the medical center has got some goal they're working on. So that means we're all working to achieve the same outcomes. Now, this just tells a little bit more in detail about the goals and how we do them and some of the specifics around it, but I'm not going to go into detail on that today. What I will show you is something that you will see many times over the course of your career here at MUSC. And this is our monthly scorecard. Across the top, we show the strategic part. This is the part where we want to be top 25. If you see something in green, that means we're hitting the goal. If it's in red, we're not hitting the goal. Yellow means we're close. The bottom part of the screen shows the operational goals. These goals change every year, and we put them under 5 different pillars. Service is about patient satisfaction. People is about employee engagement and physician engagement. Quality is about many different things, but currently we have it under a composite goal called ideal care, as well as hand hygiene. Finance, these are our current goals you see on the screen, and then we have growth, because it's only through growth and getting bigger that we get more patients to come here and MUSC becomes a great place. One of the things I want to point out is, if you look under quality, and you look under the hand hygiene part, when we first started this MUSC excellence process, our hand hygiene rates, take a guess, what do you think they were? That's correct, less than 50%. So we were no better than many other hospitals in the nation in which less than 50% of caregivers actually use hand hygiene before and after they see patients. Would you want to come to a hospital where caregivers did that? So what we did several years ago, we aligned goals behavior on this. And you can see right now we're hitting 91% on our current hand hygiene goals. So this is how we do and continue to do the great things we do every day. Now, before I close, I want to point out one last thing. One of the things I've been working on in my time here at MUSC is to improve communication as well as improve transparency about how we make decisions around here. So one of the things you're going to see many, many different types of communication. One is every day, one is every week, but there's many, many different ways. We want to get the information out to you. If you've worked in a medical center where you've seen great communication methods, please email me personally. I want to know about those, because I want to make sure we're delivering the information to you that you need, and you're able to give information back about how we should do things differently. So, in closing, I go all the way back to the beginning, and I ask you, are you ready to work on a high-performance team? I know you are. You've taken the first step, and you're here today. Thank you, and thank you for being part of the MUSC family.